Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, where you can sign up for the Shannons Club, and Penrite Oil, offering technical assistance 7 days a week. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Classic Restos, not possible without the continued support of the major sponsors. Beside me, the sensational Boss 302 Ford Mustang. And it doesn't have to be a car even this good to be with Shannons Insurance. No matter what you have, a bike, car, truck, home and its contents, Shannons Insurance is there to help you. Their website is diverse and comprehensive. They have fantastic promotions, giveaways, competitions. You can see Shannons online at shannons.com.au, where it's also an opportunity for you to sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club, where you can list your car club or even search for a car club there. The Shannons Club truly is your garage. Again, see more at shannons.com.au. And as you know, when it comes to the finest in oils and coolants, you can't go past Penrite. They've been around since 1926. Nice thing too, Australian owned and Australian made, and the technical assistance team are there to help you 7 days a week. To find out more about Penrite and how they can help you, visit Penrite at penrite.com.au. And remember, oil right. Use Penrite. Now on today's show, in between my American episodes of Classic Restos, I've returned back to Australia, and while I'm here, I thought I would show you this in regional New South Wales. This is the home of BossKraft, where concourse restorations on Mustangs is carried out. But it's not just Mustangs that receive fine treatment. If it's a classic vehicle, it's welcome here. What I like about BossKraft is that it's a family business, they're great to deal with, and they represent our classic vehicle fraternity the way it should be, and that is professionally, right down to the Aldi coffee. Now on today's episode, it's not about how they do things here at BossKraft, but more so a sticky beak as to what they have in this daggy looking shed here behind me. And so to show us more, here is Shawn Madonna. Shawn, it's great to see you again. Thanks for the invitation here.
Thanks for having us, Fletch.
It's all right, mate. Beautiful place you've got here.
We try to keep it clean.
Yeah, I mean, outside, the place just looks like a dump, but as soon as you come in here, it looks wonderful.
Well, it actually is a bit of a dump, really.
Look at the showroom here. Tell us about the tile work you've done.
Mate, yeah, we had to get special tiles in here. I wanted that black and white theme that everyone seems to like in their garages, but in the larger size because it's a fairly big room. But it was very hard to find tiles that you could drive on, and then we had to buy special adhesives to be able to drive on them and have the tiles not crack. Yeah. So, yeah. They were pretty expensive, but they looked the part. Mate,
it's nice that, you know, we're around, well, you know, maybe a bit over an hour from Sydney in regional New South Wales. It's not every day of the week that you'll come into a showroom like this behind a brick wall and here's two Boss 302 Mustangs sitting in here. I mean, fine examples too, might I say.
Yeah, they're tidy cars. Well, I guess we don't rely on drive-past traffic for advertising, so there's no need to plaster names all over the building and pose security issues, so all the work happens inside. Fletch, weren't you going to bring one of your cars down today?
Yeah, well, you know what? I got up this morning early, as I always do, and raining outside, I thought I'd bring the trusty Fairlane, you know. I mean, I didn't want to bring one of the cars. It's a Valiant, you know, rust.
True.
Now, Shawn, you've got some engines here. I mean, talk about walking into a place that's it's almost like walking into a church, isn't it, in one respect, and it's like around the altar. I mean, you know, it's almost like walking into a place where you pay homage. I mean, walking into a place, engines on stands. It doesn't get much better than that. Would you like to give us a bit of a walkthrough and show us what you've got here?
Do I have to show you the Chev as well?
The what?
Chev.
Is there a Chev there? You've got a Chev engine here. Now, predominantly, Shawn, is Ford, but everything is welcome here, right?
It is welcome here, mate.
Okay, Fletch, over here we've got a 350 Chevy that was actually out of a 30 model pickup truck. It's got the 6 carb manifold on it, the Offenhauser, with the 97s on it. Essentially a stock little motor, but would have hummed along quite nicely in the 30 model. Yeah, Fletch, you'll see the Offenhauser intake manifold here. It's a 6 carb manifold. It's got 6 97 carbs on it with a little frog mouth top sections here. Mate, we're trying to give a bit of variety to people that come into the showroom. So everyone knows that I'm a bit of a Ford guy through and through. So I need to be tarred with the other brush, so we've bought a Chevy in here, and I actually quite enjoy having it here because it promotes a little bit of variety and a little bit of drama between the Ford and Chevy guys, which is always good. You'll note the exhaust manifolds on this Chevy have been cleaned up and jet hot coated to make them look the part, so they can withstand the heat. And the engine itself's white because it was actually in a white 30 model pickup truck. Fletch, let me show you this one over here. This is actually an original Holman Moody Boss 429 NASCAR engine from the early 70s. It's now been stroked to 501 cubic inches. And it's got a lot more technology in it than it would have had back in the day, so it actually produces a lot more horsepower than it would have. We've got an electronic distributor, it's a roller cam, and roller lifters. Fletch, you'll notice the size of the heads on these NASCAR 429s. They're just like a giant brick of aluminium with these cast aluminium valve covers. They're a very interesting motor. They've got massive rocker ratios on them. But I mean, this engine produces the best part of 1,000 horsepower, and it's been dynoed at that. So it's an interesting thing. It's got a 1,000 CFM dominator carb on top of a Y-end tunnel rim with an adapter plate on the top to accept the Dominator. If let's have a look at the size of this Dominator carburettor. I mean, I'd hate to be paying the fuel bill on this thing these days with the price of fuel, but this is a monster of a carburettor. But it's really needed to feed this massive engine. Note the size of the opening here on this Y-end tunnel rim intake manifold, and I've left this loose so you can have a look inside the rams there. It's a very interesting manifold, and it's actually an original 60s manifold, so it's quite rare. Fletch, I don't know if the footage that you're taking will really show the enormity of difference between the Boss 429 and this engine over here, which is a 289 Windsor that most of your viewers will be familiar with. This is obviously the engine that most Aussie Falcons would have seen from '67, and obviously it grew into a 302, but essentially the engine was the same externally. This is actually what we call an A code or a 4-barrel 289, same sort of specs as an XR GT or a Mustang with the 4-barrel configuration. This has been beefed up slightly with a slightly larger flat tapper cam and just a little bit more bang for its buck, but essentially it's painted and detailed to look fairly stock. But it's a pretty little engine, and these Windsors are so reliable you can't kill them. Fantastic engine, and they produce a lot of horsepower and very, very drivable engine at the same time.
So from engines on stands to engines into the real thing. Behind us here, the Boss 302, a 1970 Mustang. Pinnacle-shaped car, popular Mustang, no doubt about it, matching numbers. What's the stats like in the States? Are these things starting to dry up? You seem to keep finding them.
Mate, they are, but if you talk to someone like Kevin Marty, who has all the Ford records and he liaises with people that have these cars and he'll give you paperwork on them, he'll tell you that about 33% of the cars, I think, on average have been found. But the rarer ones, like the muscle car models, about 25%. So the stats are not particularly good, really.
One thing I've noticed about being in the United States too is their ability to find cars with their original engines. I mean, you'll find a car without its original engine, but within a 5-mile radius, it's sitting in a barn. That's incredible. That just doesn't happen here. I've said before on Classic Restos, and it is really interesting that a lot of the cars were sold in a town 50 years later. They're still in their town. In Australia, the cars seem to scatter. You'd find them in other states, but over there where these cars come from, it's like as though they never leave home.
Yeah, it's pretty common actually. The cars are still owned by the original owners. I mean, I just bought one last week from the original owner. He's 87, and yeah, he's in the same place he bought the car new.
Where would we be without Shannons Insurance? Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote on 134646. You can also visit Shannons online, where there's competitions, giveaways, an opportunity to sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club, where you can chat with other enthusiasts. You can list your car club there and search for other car clubs there as well. The Shannons Club really is your garage. Find out more at shannons.com.au. The finest in oils and coolants, you can't go past Penrite, have been around since 1926, Australian made, Australian owned, and the Penrite Technical Assistance Team are there to help us 7 days a week. Find out more at penrite.com.au. I hope you're really enjoying today's episode. Back with more in just a moment. Outside we go. We've got Trevor. How are you, Trevor?
Yeah, good, thanks, Fletch.
That's the way, mate. This is a beautiful four-door LJ Torani. You don't see these every day of the week, mate. Well done.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Fletch. No, very happy with it.
What's the blue?
I'm a bit reluctant to say, but it's actually a Ford blue. It's called Nitro. Thanks for that.
That's all right. I'm sorry to drop you into the deep end, mate. God, I tell you what, from one die-hard Ford guy now to a Holden guy, it's good to see a four-door car have so much effort put to it, because a lot of emphasis on these cars were two doors. I mean, four doors here, it's a stunning car.
Yeah, I just wanted to do something different. I actually did one 20 years ago and restored it and then sold it and absolutely regretted it. So I looked for a couple of years until I found a half decent body, and thought I'd do another one, but I did a four-door because I wanted to do a four-door just to be different. Yeah.
What a lot of people don't realise about these early Toranas is how light they were. I mean, we all know how well the XU1s went, hosting their 202s. The XU2 was scheduled for a 308, which was never mass-produced. What do you got going up front here?
It's actually got a supercharged 253. It's running a V3 Vortec. 253, just a little Holden motor, but at the time, that's with the restrictions and that's all I could put in it. Right. So that's what I went with.
Isn't that good? I say that too because the poor old little 253 was always yanked out and overthrown. It was always the 308 or the 350. So to go to all this effort and it still has the 253 there.
Yeah, look, once again, it just something different. Everyone's either putting Chevs or 308s in them. Yeah. So once again, just to be different, I just went with the 253 just to keep it within Rego specs.
Okay, now let's have a look on the inside, Trevor. I love what you've done here too. When you open the doors of this car, the first thing that smacks you is the smell of leather. But what's the material?
It's actually a marine grade vinyl. We went for the better. We were going to go vinyl. I didn't really want to go leather. So we went with the marine grade vinyl, and the guy that done it, he done a top job of it too. Yeah. So fully customised. So.
Trevor, the seats bolster well. I mean, they're comfortable. Everywhere you look on this car, it really is outstanding. I think what I personally like about this LJ, it gets back to the rarity. It's just not the sort of car that you see out on the street every day.
No, that's right. And you drive it down the street, no matter where you go, you get the thumbs up, you get a lot of heads turned. My wife go out driving in it with the kids and that, and they love it. You know, it's good fun.
A car like this, beautiful blue, it's in such nice condition. I've got to ask you, who's it insured with?
It's insured with Shannons. So, yeah.
This is not a setup. No. All right, we'll try for number 2. What sort of oil do you run?
Penrite.
See, there you go. That totally unsolicited. That.
Yeah. No, it's right. It's you know, with a car like this, it's not an everyday drive, you know, and for the insurance and that, for me, Shannons was the only way to go. It was easy, it was simple to do. It was all done over the phone, didn't have a problem, and as for the oil and that, you know, you only put what's best, I suppose.
Absolutely. So, they are major sponsors of Classic Restos. To find out more information, classicrestos.com.au for more contact information. Trevor, as a car, how does it drive? I mean, we mentioned earlier how light it is and having all that power up front. Speaking of which, how many horsepower roughly?
It runs about 340 at the wheels.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not... Look, it's not the sort of car that you'd drive to Queensland and back. You know, it's all right to do the short trip to shows and stuff like that. It's a little bit loud, and it's a little bit hard on the suspension and that.
It's a toy.
It's a toy. You know, that's what the plates are. Toy LJ. You know, it's my toy. So.
Trevor, 253, got the Vortec, starting from scratch. Educate us. Where do you start? How do you set it up?
The engine was always built to take the Vortec, but I didn't put it on straight away as funds didn't permit it. You couldn't buy a kit for this to suit the pre-VN heads, the old HQ style heads, so all the bracketry and all that I had to make myself. We originally put it on and ran about 5 psi. The engine without the Vortec produced about 175 horsepower. We put the Vortec on it, ran it at 5 psi, and we managed to get it up to 290. And then went a step further, and because the engine was built to take about 10-11 psi, we changed the pulleys and boosted it up to about 10-11 psi, and now it runs about 340 at the wheels. So it's quite a dramatic increase for the money you spend. It's quite a dramatic increase in horsepower. So.
Trevor, again, thank you for sharing the LJ with us. As I said, mate, top notch, and mate, it looks the part, certainly goes the part. Beautiful car. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks a lot, Fletch. Thank you.
Good on you. Bookings are now being taken for Fletch Tours 2015 to the delightful Carlisle region of Pennsylvania and experiencing a Carlisle event, along with the Motown city of Detroit and its region. For more information, go to classicrestos.com.au and click on the Fletch Tours icon. Welcome back. Now on Classic Restos, you can't say that I don't try and bring you different stuff. Sean, got a trailer going back here. What's the deal here?
Mate, it's the shop trailer, and it's due for a resto, so here it is on Classic Restos.
See, there you go. See, a Classic Resto can be lots of different stuff. This trailer, I love it because of the timber. As soon as I got here this morning, I looked at that and thought, wow, beautiful.
I can't remember the name of it, Fletch. I probably should have looked it up before you started the segment, but it's some timber from Peru that they apparently float down the Amazon River in.
Sean, you had about 8 hours notice for me to come here. I thought you would have researched that.
You'd think I would, wouldn't you?
How did the old trailer look?
Mate, it was exactly the same. It just had, it was white and it was painted in automotive paint, and it had a marine ply base in it rather than this actual really nice timber. But Trevor, that you featured on the show with the Tirana, he has a great powder coating company, and he blasted and powder coated it for us. Yeah. And it looks as you see it today.
Wasn't that Tirana a good thing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course it is. Beautiful.
What an episode this is. Goodness me. Well, back to this trailer here. Powder coated, the timber on top looks absolutely beautiful. What are you going to use? I don't want to make this sound like a stupid question, but what are you actually going to use it for?
Putting cars on it, Fletch.
That's what you use a car trailer for. There's some that look better than others, but this one here, mate, you could almost win a trophy at a show just for your trailer.
Yeah, we don't really enter it in any competitions, but no, it's a very long trailer. We use it
because of its dimension, I guess.
Yeah, could be. No, we built it oversized, mate. I mean, it's actually within the legal limits, but it's a very long trailer because we go down to the container yards and pick up imports that we've bought in a lot. So we're often picking up the cars and boxes of parts and so forth, so it's good to get it all in one trip if we can.
Here we are inside. Sean, what a pigsty. It's awesome.
we like this pigsty, mate.
It is so good. I could think of worse places to turn up for work each day.
Yeah, it's tough. Someone's got to do it, though.
All right, on the rotisserie behind us, what's going on?
Mate, on the rotisserie here, we've got a 69 Boss 429. Super rare car. That was the car that Ford built, and then it was sent to CarCraft in Michigan, and they jammed a Boss 429 NASCAR engine into it to get it homologated so that they could use that motor on the NASCAR circuit. And in doing that, they had to put special shock towers in the car to fit the motor, and it was such a massive engine, it just didn't fit in the Mustang. So,
isn't it interesting hearing these stories? I mean, similar stories with trying to put a Hemi into an A-model Dart years ago. They had these monstrous engines with incredible horsepower, jamming them into these relatively small cars. This particular body shell, Sean, what condition was it in when you got it? Was it pretty good overall?
Mate, this was actually a running, driving car just a few weeks ago, and it was a pretty tidy looking car. We actually had it at the Wheels at Wollondilly show, which you aired a few weeks back, and a great driving car, but it was just that stage where it had a few blemishes, and it was sort of it was here for an engine bay restoration, and in discussions with the owner, we just couldn't figure out where to stop, and he's in the end just said, just do the car, just do whatever you want to do to it.
Matching numbers car?
Yeah, he had the original engine, which wasn't in the car, but now that we've come to this stage, I said, well, why don't we put this thing back to stock? It's such a valuable car that it really should be original.
You can't beat the rotisserie too. I mean, the chook in the oven, mate, isn't it?
Mate, I actually found a good use for Mitsubishi Magnas.
Yeah, what's that?
It's the rear axle for the rotisserie.
And the
bike brake assembly.
Yeah, the caliper as well on the rotor. Yeah, well done, Sean.
They are a useful motor vehicle.
Okay, behind us now, 1969 Boss 302, sitting here in all its exuberance. The colour, what is it, Sean?
Mate, the colour's called Calypso Coral. It's one of the 4 colours that are available in that year.
It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very pretty. It's very similar to Vermilion Fire on the GT Falcons here.
Is. Now, customer's car or your own? What's going on there?
Mate, it's a customer's car. I actually inspected the car in the US for him, and after he purchased the vehicle and imported it and was going to restore it himself, and I guess he got busy with work or decided not to do it himself, and the car's come interstate, and here it is.
So the old story too. It's always interesting to know what these cars were like and where they came from. When you look up the side here. I mean, it looks like it's had an easy life. What was it like when you got it?
It hasn't had an easy life, mate. This car actually came out of a part of the world that you're very familiar with in Pennsylvania, near Harrisburg.
Over on the eastern side, the Rust Belt.
The eastern side of the US. So it's had, I think it's got about 80,000 miles on it. So it's had a fair bit of exposure to those conditions over there, salted roads, and so it's had fairly extensive bodywork done to it. We've been on the car full time for best part of 5 months now.
In terms of options, engine-wise, the customer, what's he running with? Stock specs or something a little bit more cranky?
We're actually building the car into a concourse car, but we are changing the cam specs from standard, which I tend to do with Boss 302s, because the factory camshaft really wasn't appropriate. It didn't make the engine all that efficient. They've got such big ports, and to make use of all that, you really need to play with the cam specs a little bit and make them more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's available these days too for engines, and the scope, it's just unlimited, isn't it?
It is, and the technology we've got today is a lot better than what it used to be. I mean, they were Trans Am racing these cars with 450 horsepower back in the day, and that was impressive. But these days, as you know, it's achievable very cheaply.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, introduction of roller cams too really turned things around, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It really has. It makes them so much more efficient, and that's the type of stuff that we're doing to the car.
Okay. Interior, Sean, what's going on there in terms of getting that all redone?
It's got a standard black trim, which a lot of Boss 302s, especially 69s, have. So it's, being a concourse car, every aspect of the car is being rebuilt to as new.
So you're going to give it back to the customer with trim in it. It's not going to go back like that, is it?
We've been thinking about it.
Yeah. Save some costs on your part.
Yeah, it's very true.
Maybe you won't notice.
Oh, we'd like a bit of return customer type work here, mate.
Mention that he does a really good job restoring the car, but it comes back got no trim.
Wish you put some seats in it.
Yeah, you can only go so far just sitting on a milk crate.
Yeah, true.
When you hear it, Shawns, no matter where you look, there's something different to look at. I mean, today's show, it just really just scrapes the tip of the iceberg, really. The car behind us is an incredible thing. Now, it might not look much to you, but explain.
Fletch, this is a 67 GT350 Shelby. It's a real Shelby. It's actually a pretty rare car because it's one of the first 200 cars that he built in 67, and as I've heard Carroll Shelby himself say, this is the last of the real Shelbys, as he says, because after that Ford contracted another company to build the cars for them, and Shelby's involvement was dismissed. But this is one of the first 200 cars that he built that year, and they had some really interesting features about them that were different to all the other cars. They had little aeroplane running lights on the side of them, and which were outlawed fairly soon by the government because they had issues with the colour of the lights and the side placement. They're just a very interesting car. They had some really weird running changes in those first 200 cars, and they're very hard to nail down those little key features.
So how'd you get it?
It's actually a customer's car, but I had a customer approach me chasing an early Shelby, and he didn't have a huge budget, so we sort of had to work out what he wanted, whether he wanted a project car that was complete or a very trashed body, and we ended up going that route. So the car's very complete, but the body was an absolute mess.
The Pinnacle engine for 67?
This is a GT350, so it's the 289 Hypo K-Code, little solid lift of 289, great engine.
Yeah, the Revers, I mean, obviously all Windsors are, but the 289, not big on the cubes, but just an astounding engine, weren't they?
They are, mate. They won everything on the racetrack. They're absolutely bulletproof little engine and rev, like you say, top engine, and backed up by the 4-speed and the 389 9-inch rear end that was in it.
We only had to see to the likes of Pete Gagan, what he used to do with the Mustang.
Yeah, well, he managed to get a car around the track at a great speed with horrid wheel alignment and.
Well, everything was all at funny angles. No one thought that would work, but he got it to.
He made it work. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so time in the build here. This is there's a lot of work to be done here, Sean. I know you've started, but when do you reckon it'll be finished?
Mate, I've had the car for about 3 years now, but because he's on a limited budget and he wants to dribble the money in over time, we're happy to accommodate that. Yeah. So we just put the car aside and
you just replace one bolt a week.
Correct.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's affordable.
You're also in-house too, sandblaster over there. You've got your own paint shop. You've got your own booth as well. What a place! I mean, if I just lived up the road, I'd be probably here more often.
Thank God for that.
Shawn, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Had a ball here today working with you. It's been great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Fletch. We appreciate you coming around.
Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos here at Shawn's place, and I'm sure you'll agree too that this week's show was a show with a bit of a difference. Now, classicrestos.com.au, that's the website that you need for the DVD boxed sets of the show, which make fantastic gifts for people as well. Other Classic Restos merchandise. How about joining us in 2015 on a sensational Fletch Tour to either Carlisle, Pennsylvania or the Motown city of Detroit, United States of America. And the contact information for the major sponsors is all there awaiting you at classicrestos.com.au. As I say at the end of every show, until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, where you can sign up for the Shannons Club, and Penrite Oil, offering technical assistance 7 days a week.